Hey
No
everyone,
worries.
welcome to another session of A Day in the Life of a BA. This is actually going to be our last session for the year, so thanks so much for taking the time to join. I'm James, the president of IIBA Ireland, and I'll be your host today. At IIBA Ireland, our mission is to support professionals by sharing knowledge, common terminology, and practical insights into the work that us business analysts do across different industries or sectors. And that's the whole point of this series, to give you a chance to hear directly from BA professionals who have worked in these particular industries or sectors and to hear about their typical day. So each month, we're inviting a BA professional to share their personal journey, highlighting the approaches that they take, the technologies they rely on, the tasks that they do, the tools and techniques that they use, and the challenges and successes that they have encountered within their industry or sector. So whether you're considering a career in business analysis, already working alongside BAs, or simply looking to deepen your understanding of the role, today's session is designed to give you that clarity, to give you that confidence and a shared language for working effectively with other business analysts. And today I'm delighted to be joined by David, a business analyst who has worked in the education sector. David will be walking us through his day in the life within the sector and sharing practical insights from his experience. Please feel free to turn on your cameras, and throughout the session, you're more than welcome to interact with our attendees via the chat. And if you want to ask any questions, please pop them into the Q&A tab, where we'll have some time at the end where we can go through them. So without further ado, David, it's over to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that, James. Hello, everyone. Like my usual self, I will say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you're joining from, because I know this will call across the globe. And I'm happy to be here today. So just give me a few minutes. Let me see. Uh, Share my screen. Okay. All right. And there you have it. Please let me know when you can see my screen so that can everyone see my screen now?
Not yet.
And how about now?
It just says you've started screen sharing, but we can't actually see anything on the screen, David.
Yeah. Hello. Hello. Can everyone hear me now? All good? Okay. So let's go. So today, I'll be sharing about a day in the life of a business analyst, and I'll just do a quick introduction about myself. Right. Excuse me. I'm using two screens, so just pardon me here. Okay. All right. So this is just a brief intro about myself. What I've done during my busy schedule and when I'm not resting. So I would say I have success rate in education, healthcare, manufacturing, e-commerce, technology sector. I've gained valuable product experience, across 5 continents, and more so, I've been recognized by the UK government as a global talent recipient, you know, in digital technology sector, as a business analyst. So moving forward, I will say that I've co-author a book called Bridging the Gap Across Industries. Version 2, I've published high impact journals on requirements, engineering, and stakeholders management. So currently, I serve as the regional community lead for IIBA UK Northwest Chapter UK, and I'm a global speaker. I'm not a fan of titles anyways, but I'll just put out there. I've been a mentor for Tony Elumelu Foundation, GAD. I'm a mentor for IIBA UK Professional Development, and more so, I've um, served as a peer reviewer for IIBA Global. And lastly, I would say that I'm the founder of Dubac. I'm sure you should have heard few things about Dubac. Um, Also, convener of Dubac Business Analysis Summit, which happened sometimes in January, and it was a great one. All right, let's go into today's activity. So, because we've all had a long day, I'm gonna do a sort of icebreaker. So you tell me today and describe yourself. So, what one word would you use to describe your mood today? What one word would you use to describe your mood today? Let's have it. Exhausted. Okay. All right. Someone said exhausted. Busy. Okay. Okay. Matthew said happy, tired. I know it's that time of the year. Everyone is wrapping up. And you just want to say, can I just leave that sprint and go to the next thing? Right. Okay. Any other person? You're happy. I'm happy to hear that as well. I'm happy to say that you're happy to be here, and you're happy. So that's a sort of positive energy. Okay. All right. For me, I would say I'm happy to be here, and thank you, James, for inviting me to speak to your chapter today. And I would say moving forward. So, BA in the ed tech. I would say that I've been opportune to watch the great series Jim is doing in the IB Ireland chapter. And I would say that one thing stands out for me. We are all speaking the same language, but in different terms. Okay. And if you look at this, you see that one thing resonates with us, which is the problem, the analysis, and the solution. Okay. So, as a business analyst in higher education, we act as an agent of change, by improving the university processes and systems, such as student enrollment or course delivery, through data analysis and process improvement. So, what do I mean? What I'm saying is, we see the problem, we see the challenges, that the university, are currently facing, and we serve as that problem solver. In as much as we are problem solvers, we find a way to provide solution, give the best advice, that will improve processes, reduce, cost, increase efficiency, and if you look at the BACCM model, as business analyst, that is the foundation. And when you look at it, you see that there's a context, there's value, there's stakeholder, there's need, there's solution. So once we look at all that, we can infuse it here and see how we perform, as business analysts. So one thing I will say here as we go on is that we are what? Agent of change, and what do? We improve. We ensure that there are reduced time, efficiency wise, and also see what we can do better, as business analysts. So, speaking of that, there's always a why, and that is saying that, you know before you can take an action, there's a reason behind it. All right. So speaking here, there's a why, because I want to add value to aspiring BAs. I want to add value to people that are interested in understanding how it is done, in another domain. It's more of collaboration, it's more of seeing from different lenses, different perspective. So once we look at this, we see that the path isn't always smooth. Okay, and I'll explain that further as we go on. So in the dynamic landscape of education, where the pursuit of excellence and innovation is paramount. Now if you see the higher education, the motive, right? The motive is that you want to make things easy. You want to have processes that are streamlined. You don't need blockers. Okay. So where the pursuit of excellence and innovation is paramount, the application of business analysis, as a business analyst, we are the transformative force to make that happen. Okay. We are the transformative force to make that happen. And going forward, how do BAs, what is the transformative impact? What impact do we have, as business analysts in education? So the transformative impact in education, you see that in the education sector, business analysis emerges as a powerful tool for driving positive change and fostering continuous improvement. So there's continuity, there's that transformation. It's not about what you do, it's how you keep improving what is on ground, what is available, what has been done. How do you make it better? Right? So it's fostering continuous improvement. Now, I have a short case study that we will go through together, and I will explain how you function as a BA. Right. So through case studies, we witness how data-driven decision making, how we use data to take informed decision, the stakeholder collaboration. Now, strategic planning, how we can use it to enhance various facets of education. So if you ask me, I will say that, when it comes to education, we see that to understand to better understand the role of a business analyst, it is super duper essential to define our function, within an organization. Now, if I'm speaking about education, another BA can say, you know what, I know my function. Because if you don't know your function within an organization, you might be doing someone else's job. So you might not be efficient in what you are doing. But if you look at it, you see that, you have your role, you know what to do, you know how to come in, right? And give that suggestion to ensure that operations, and also you outline the competencies and skills required for success in this field. So once you understand your role in education or the organization, you will be able to know how to add value. And this takes me to um, the case study in platform that we worked on. So implementing e-learning platform. Now, e-learning platform is for students, right? And also you have a whole lot of people that you interact with. Now, the people you interact with, the stakeholders. So the people you interact with, we call them the stakeholders. Now, this case study, which we will discuss going forward, is saying that this is how to illustrate how business analysis, right, facilitates the adoption of innovative solution, in response to evolving educational need. Now, why do we need to provide innovative solution? Because there is a need. If you remember what I said earlier, I mentioned that there is a need, there's the context, and that is the BACCM model. Okay. Now, in this context of a global shift towards digital education, because now it's more of digital transformation and innovation, right? So a school aims to implement e-learning platforms. So if you look at that, e-learning platforms, you see the bigger picture. Why? Why do they need to implement e-learning platforms? What's the need? Okay, what's the value? So going forward, we see that we understand the context right now. Okay, and I will show you three things, three phases now. And these phases, you have the initiation phase, you have the elaboration phase, and you have the implementation phase. Now, these three things that I've done, I've been able to put them together, right, to take care of what a BA will do in this context. Once we see the initiation phase, elaboration phase, and the implementation phase, we know that this is a typical, I can say this is a typical day, of a BA. Now, let's look at this. Right. And this is the power of collective action. Now, business analysts, okay, assess the existing infrastructure, the capabilities, the student needs. This is where you have a sort of, you get the business case. Okay, if you're starting from the scratch, if you are the originator, okay, if it's a new project. However, if you are coming in, there is an existing infrastructure, and you are coming in as a transformative agent, just like we mentioned earlier. Now, coming in as a transformation agent, you see that you need to assess the existing infrastructure, to know what the future state will be. So what I've done here is that I've been able to itemize the value, the input that will address that context, that need, and also provide the value. So let's look at this. Now, I mentioned that we have the initiation phase, we have the elaboration phase, and the implementation phase. I will wrap all this together with it. So the initial phase is where you get to talk to your stakeholders, where you do your elicitation. So through stakeholder interviews and requirement elicitation, they define a comprehensive plan for the integration of e-learning tools. This is where we come in and we say, what is going on? What is your need? What value are you trying to add? Why are we developing this platform? What's the need? Okay. And looking at this, perhaps the university says, we're trying to increase our efficiency because we have larger number of students. We're trying to, save cost, and also to say increase our value and also stay competitive in the market. That's an edge. By conducting a thorough cost benefit analysis. Now, these are tasks that a BA will do. The school identifies the most suitable platforms, ensuring a seamless transition to digital learning. Now, if you look at that, seamless transition, it means that whatever you've done with your team, whatever you've built over time, there should be a seamless transition. Okay, that's for the rollout to digital learning. Now, as a BA, you need to understand your competencies. You need to understand what are your strengths. Okay, and this is where soft skills and technical skills come into play. But most importantly, we need to leverage our soft skills. And when we say our soft skills, is how do you engage the stakeholders? How do you get the pain points? How do you understand what they are looking for? How do you ask the right question? How do you create the atmosphere that is collaborative enough between the stakeholder? How do you manage it? All right, speaking of competencies. Now, competency, we see that business analyst, okay, business analyst should possess competencies and skills, and I will categorize them into the following. I will just touch on 4 of them. The first one is communication. I don't want to say there's nothing you can do if you don't know how to communicate, okay, but communication itself, we need to know how to do that. Pardon me, I'm gonna go back a bit. So it says, communication skills, and this is, between your team, time management, adaptability to rapidly changing conditions. And I said the ability to communicate complex analysis results that is understandable, and the skill of creating clear report and presentation. Now, once you have this skill, once you've worked on it, you are able to say, I know how to communicate with people. I know how to explain in simple terms. It's not about speaking buzzwords. It's not about speaking, the BA language. But can you talk to me to understand? Can you ask me can you ask me the right question so that I will give you what you need? Because if you don't get the right requirement, and in some of my speaking engagements, I mentioned there, I said 2 things I believe personally that help a BA: relationship and good requirement. Okay, Those two things, I believe strongly that they help BAs. Now, if you've got good relationship, good rapport with team members, good rapport with stakeholders, some might be difficult. That is something you can't do without. Okay. But once you have those two things, it makes your work much more easy. It makes it easier. So, I said the first one is communication skills, right? Now, going forward, analytical skills. There's difference between you getting that understanding of what is needed, number one, and two, difference between you analyzing what the situation is and how to scale it to the next level. All right. And that is why, we have the likes of assumptions when it comes to acceptance criteria. Now, what that means is you should be able to think, if we do it this way, what are the gray areas? Your stakeholders might not understand the gray areas, and that is where you are needed. That is where you say, oh, all right, you want color blue, right? Fine. But if you think about it on a long-term basis, why do we need to use color blue? So it's more about logical thinking, problem analysis, and I will say this: if you don't understand the domain as a BA, you might face some challenges, because if you don't know what is going on in that domain, you won't be able to add so much value. You won't be able to see the bigger picture, and that is where upskilling a skill set, that is where it comes to play. So problem analysis, identifying patterns and trends, understanding statistical models, modeling techniques that help predict future events based on historical data. Now, what this is saying is, you have your SMEs, you have an existing infrastructure. As a BA, whatever they've done before, okay, you're working with it because you need to understand what they have. Whatever you're working with, whatever your future state is meant to be, you have your SMEs to leverage. You leverage your SMEs so that they will give you that insight that you have, that you need. Going forward, technical skills. For me, I say that I have that edge because I understand the technical. I have that technical background and I have the business background, so it makes it much more easier for me to communicate and to deal with the software developers, because I was once a developer myself. I know how to write line of codes, which I do want to do again. Okay, but it makes it easy when you are relating with them. And technical skills is not just about line of codes or whatsoever, but it's saying data management, analysis capabilities, proficiency with tools, right? That will give you that valuable insight. We have different tools we use, and I won't reinvent the wheel of speaking about them, but some of the tools you might find yourself using in this domain is, you need more of Power BI or Tableau, because you need to show what you need to interpret the message you're passing across to the stakeholders. you know they don't have time for you to start going into details. Just give us the high level, give us an overview of what it is. What is the problem? What do we need to do? How are you helping us to make this happen? So we have the likes of Jira, you have Confluence, you have Figma, you name it. I'm sure we all understand all these softwares. However, your project management skills, and someone will say to me that a PM and a BA, what's the difference between both parties? Okay, but if you look at it, I would say that we have more of an overlapping responsibilities. Okay, and right now I know some people that they can wear double hats as a PM, as a BA. They are hitting the ground, they're gonna hit the ground running. I'm not saying you should start doing that, but it just gives you an edge. So this is you overseeing the life cycle of a project, from problem identification to implementing the recommendation. Now that we understand and have been able to build this context, for you, what to do, what you need, how to go about it, the skills that you require to work in this domain. I would say a typical day. So let's jump into it. What do we do? All right. What do I do as a BA? My typical day. I'm sure you hear reading of emails, stand-ups, all that, replying to messages and whatsoever that people do. But what I've done is to put them together. I'm just gonna use a single word, or in simple terms, just tell you what is being done, and I would walk you through that. So sometimes, not most times now, start the day by either reviewing tickets, on the student record system, and the agenda, find a way to prioritize the most critical issues that is on ground. Look at targeted questions for stakeholders. And I say this for BAs, before you walk up to your stakeholder, sit yourself down, ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself the questions that you want to ask your stakeholder. And this is why I'm saying this, because once you understand those questions, once you understand the answer, you'll be able to see the bigger picture once you start talking to your stakeholders. It will make it easy for you to relate with them. Okay, so here, plan and prioritize. Okay, plan and prioritize. That's the first one for me. Planning and prioritize. If you say priority, what is the most important thing to do for the project? So that is where you have, if you go to your ticket, your Jira now, that's your Jira when you have all your backlogs and all, when you've done all that, you will see what is the most important thing to do, because you have timeline you're working with. You have that particular time frame, your sprint, you have weeks to carry out a particular sprint, and you want to deliver on that project. So it is essential to plan and prioritize. It is super duper important to do that. Now, secondly, align the delivery team. Align the delivery team, for me, I say that, when it comes to ceremonies, the stand up now, you see the stand up with IT, the PM, another BA. Perhaps you're not the only BA working on that project. You I try as much as possible to clarify progress on the registration defect. Now I'm speaking in terms of implementation of a e-learning platform. Okay, now this is where you highlight the blockers, agree that capacity checks, um, what to focus, what your focus should be on today, And going forward, I would say that elicit requirement. Okay, I spoke about this earlier. So this is what you do, a typical day. These are the things you do. Eliciting requirements from your stakeholders to ensure that you get the bigger picture of what they need. You understand the context, you understand the value, and you understand the solution. All right. Stakeholder relationship building. This, for me, is very crucial. Is very crucial. And I feel that people who say that, oh, this stakeholder is difficult. How do I manage this stakeholder? This stakeholder is not responding to me. Do I need to kick them off the project? Or how do I manage it? How do I manage conflict? Stakeholder relationship building a continuous thing is a continuous thing that you need to do. And once it's a continuous thing, you have to find a way to build that relationship. Have chit chat, okay? It's not only when you need them, you talk to them, if you get what I mean. Probably catch up for coffee, lunch breaks, or whatever it is. Find what works for you. That's what I say. Find what works for you that's going to give you peace of mind. So you can close your eyes at night and sleep well, rather than you thinking about that stakeholder that is after after you. All right. So co-design the solution. Now, I mentioned something about eliciting requirements, So I'll give you a scenario. I facilitated requirements workshop, with the they call it the registry and the faculty admin. So it's to map out the current registration and also the waitlist process. So what did I do? Identify failure points and capture examples of common exceptions. From there, uh, find a way to analyze and models. So after the workshop, synthesizing the input, and this is where what we all know as is process, how to map it out as is. That is the current state. So what is the current state? After understanding the current state, drafting the initial user story, such as a student, I want to see only the modules I'm eligible to, so that I don't accidentally select invalid options. So this is just to say that you once you're modeling what the process will be. So that is where user story comes in, and I will talk more about that going forward. So so I would say, for me, over lunch or even informal chats, informal conversations, works better, so that you're able to validate some assumptions and less formal pain point that might not appear in official meetings. Now, doing this, stakeholder relationship building helps you to influence people. Don't get me wrong. Influencing is not the same thing as manipulation or coercion. When you influence people, you get to do things faster and better, because they will be able to, to liaise with you and also make your work easy. So, co-design the solution. Co-design the solution is where your work lies, right? And this is working, with solution architect, developers. This is where we sketch the to be process. To be process, for those on this call, if you don't know what the to be process is, to be process is the future state. And this is where, you know, clarification comes in, data needs, say, prerequisite, and also review the early mock-ups, for the new registration screens. Right. Once that is done, I believe so much in quality. Okay. And the next thing I will discuss here is define quality upfront. So defining quality upfront is, preparing the test scenarios, the acceptance criteria, and that is where you will link it to each user story, focusing on, say, capacity limits, prerequisite, and class validation. Log them, into the test management tool. Once you've done this, the next one I will talk about is secure sponsorship and benefit. What do I mean? Securing sponsorship and benefit is meeting the project sponsor, which is your stakeholder, to work through a, a simple benefit map, agreeing on success measures such as fewer field registration, reduce cost to help desk, improve student satisfaction scores. Now, at this point, if I want to speak the BA language that we all understand, this is what is called traceability. This is where you compare what has been done with the requirement you've gotten from the initial phase. All right. So, and this is, it's not a set of it's a set of a BA action, not a diary. I must say. Okay. Now, going forward. So going forward, for stand-ups is where you discuss. It's where you discuss your blockers. Is where you discuss the yesterday, today. I said yesterday, today, and blockers, and that is literally saying that what did we do yesterday? What are we doing today? What are the blockers? What are the what is giving us that difficult time? You get what I mean? So going forward now, I will say that the daily meetings, okay, daily meetings max most times, rule of thumb, we say 15 minutes. However, you have your teams, right? But the three main questions, okay, is what are we to do today? This is where you catch up and you do a sort of what is necessary. How do we make progress on what we are doing? So three main questions: what I did yesterday, what I will do today, what is in my way. Typically, what I've just said now is what are the blockers? We call them blockers because they stand in our way to achieve our goal and objective. So daily stand-up meetings, right? And quickly I will touch on user stories, right, which I mentioned earlier, and I will show you the people you communicate with. If you look at it might be the same thing, um, across domains, right? But if you look at this, so what I said, user story. User story is either your user or your customer and also the product. So how do you translate what the user wants to the product? Your users, customers, so it's saying persona, picture, name, details, goal, which translates into user stories. Now, how do you ensure that you have the right user story? How do you ensure that whatever you are doing is there's clarity, is accurate? And these are the qualities of a BA. This is what makes your work easier, because you want to so hard, for itself. There needs to be clarity. Okay, you need to have clarity in what you're doing. So if you look at this, right, and I said here, that ideas feedback data, these are the middlemen, product owner or dev team. Now, ideas, feedback data, as a BA, these are the people you interface with. So product owner and dev team, either Scrum Master, whoever it is, work together to derive new or updated user stories, which will align with your particular objective and aims. So moving forward, as is to be and to do. When I mention as is, so the first stage describes the current state of your processes, including its weakness and its strength. To be in this phase is we redesign the process, reassessing the business task, and coming up with company's future vision. Now, company's future vision for you or in your organization might be, say, you need a new interface. Why do you need a new interface? You want to increase maybe excuse me, you want to reduce time, you want to reduce the time people spend on your platform, and how people interact with it. To do. So this stage focuses on technical modeling. When you see how technology can help you with process management and automation. So this is where digital transformation comes in. All right, that is how to perform process mapping. So what I've done here, perhaps getting into education, this is a job role, and the reason why I picked this up is to show you what they are looking for, who they are looking for, and how to position yourself, how to upskill yourself, how to prepare yourself to add value, okay? To add value to them. Right. I saw some questions here. I'll take them later. There's time for Q&A. So this job role says that as we embark on an ambitious digital transformation, we are investing in our IT infrastructure, which is key to developing our learning and research capability as we strive to collaborate across the globe. Note that as we strive to collaborate across the globe, that's one of their focus, attacking global issues. Now, as a BA, your solution should address that concern. All right. We are looking for business analysts to join us to work on IT projects that underpin critical university systems and processes. Most likely, this is going to be around digital transformation. Now, moving forward, it says, as a business analyst, you will work collaboratively with project managers, business representatives, end users, technical teams within IT, and the wider university to deliver systems that support effective and efficient business processes and align with university strategy. These are your stakeholders. Now, tell me, you need to build your soft skills. Look at all these people they've listed. These are the people you'll be working with. So if you can't communicate with these people, how do you want to solve the issue? How do you want to move forward? All right. Now it says that you will have professional experience of working as a BA to effectively elicit requirements and model business processes with a working knowledge of modeling techniques. As an experienced BA, you'll be skilled problem solver with the ability to what? To communicate effectively with a diverse range of people at all levels. You will also be proficient in prioritizing your own workload, managing conflicting demands on your time. So, looking at this, when I saw this JD, I just felt this summarized everything I'm going to talk about today, because literally this is what you need. This is how you upskill yourself. These are the things you need to develop to fit into this domain. Okay, so the impact of a BA. Let's talk about the impact of a BA, right? And the first thing here is automation, right? So talking about automation, the impact of a BA when it comes to automation is improving efficiency, through the process, streamlining and driving strategic decision making with, data-driven insights. However, BAs bridge the gap between business needs and technology, managing to manage new projects, help institutions optimize resource allocation and risk management. Just like I mentioned earlier about that typical JD that I showed. And this will lead to, cost saving, better academic um, objectives. So BA serve as the bridge, right? Serve as the bridge between the current state and the future state. All right, it serves as the bridge between the stakeholders and the developers. You are the middleman. If you get the requirement right from the stakeholder, you will definitely translate the same information to the next team member. So this leads to cost savings, right? Better academic outcomes and more effective operations. Okay, so I can take your questions now. If you have questions, please let me know. You can unmute your mic. Anyone? Any question?
I think there's a question in
All right.
the chat.
Yeah. So this is from Ellen. When accessing the existing infrastructure, do we do a process flow of the as is or just clear documentation? Right. So this is where I said your analytical skills needs to come in, right? Do we need to do a process flow of the as is or just clear documentation? I feel that if you get into a domain or an organization, they have existing processes. If you are opportune, if you are lucky, and you can get them, it will make your work easier. But if you can't get them, I'm not I don't share bad news, but I'm here to tell you that you might need to do that yourself. You might need to map out those process flow. Who else? I think that's the only question here. That's the only question I can see here.
There's another one in the Q&A tab, if you can see that, David.
Let me see.
I can read it out if you can't see it.
I'm not sure I can see that. Do you want to take that for us, please?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So it's about how does an entry level deal with a lack of domain experience?
How do you deal? Was that the question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so it's about someone who wants to start off in that domain. How do they deal with the lack of domain experience?
All right. So for lack of experience, I'm gonna say that you, and this is where we develop ourselves. And I'll give you an example. So as a BA, I will say to you that to gain experience, you need to either do more of personal development. You need to you need to like, and I'll give you an example. You need to watch IIBA Ireland YouTube page. Now, the reason why I said you need to watch that page is because if you look at it, they've been able to bring different speakers, that spoke about their domain. And once you have that insight about that domain, you will be able to position yourself. Okay. And I do say this. I think entering into a new domain is literally understanding what they do there. Okay. And as a BA, if you say you are transitioning from insurance to energy, you can't say because you've not worked in the energy sector, you'll be able to function well. And that's where the onus is on you. The onus is on you to develop yourself to fit into that organization and add value to them. So from my own perspective, I would say that is more of personal development, is more of extensive research, and also um, participating or joining such community like the IIBA Ireland chapter, to gain deep insight. Okay, deep insight in such a way that you have you have that robust knowledge, and you can, from there you can, upgrade yourself. I saw another question popping now. That's from Olowokere. Olowokere says, yeah. Oh, okay, okay. You're responding to him. There's also technique that can help you learn a new domain. Yeah, I haven't had domain experience in anything that I've worked in, and I've worked across life sciences, corporate business registries, and currently in energy. I agree with you. So that's it. It is as a as a soldier, right? You are trained to. I'm not a soldier, anyways, but I think as a soldier, they are trained to, prepare for war before they have such wars coming up. So I would say that as a BA, we need to be versatile. I'm not saying you should be jack of all trades, but once you understand the fundamentals, once you understand the right technique, once you understand, once you develop your soft skills, and your technical skills, you should be able to wing it, or you should be able to perform better. I think that's a better way of framing it. Um, if you learn this, yeah. So yes, pop it. Thank you, James. Thank you. So that's people, organization, processes, information, and technology. Yeah. If you learn this as a BA in any domain, it makes it easier to work with people, your stakeholders. That's correct. That's correct. That's absolutely correct. Yeah, research, and continue. You need to learn. You need to keep. See, I used to say that, you can't rest on what you know. You can't dwell on what you know now. You need to keep upskilling yourself if you want to become better. You need to keep, adding value to yourself, and definitely research. That's it. You need to research, keep researching until you to where you are going. All right. I think that's the last question. Thank you, everyone. You can connect with me. I've just shared my LinkedIn QR code. On LinkedIn, if you want to join me on LinkedIn, my name is David Odepidan, and I would love to connect with you. I would love to collaborate with you. And James, thank you again for having me here. Over to you, James.
Thanks so much, David, for that fantastic presentation. It was really insightful to see what it's like working in education. There's a lot of core BA skills that I could resonate with. So it was really interesting to see exactly the tasks that a BA would do within that particular sector. I don't think we have any other questions, but we have reached the end of time. And I know a comment from our last session was to finish on time. So I think we can leave it there. But we'd love to have you back as a speaker again in the future, David, if you're interested. And thanks again for everyone who took the time to join today. Enjoy their evening, enjoy wherever you're joining from, your afternoon, your day, morning. But yeah, we'll leave it there. So thanks so much again, David, and everyone for joining. All right.
Yes,
Bye bye,
thank you, everyone.
guys.
Thank you for having me, James. All right, bye, everyone.